Right, okay, so our first panel that we've got today is we're going to be balancing those balls. So that is work, life, and kids. And let's face it, women, right? It's half the time it feels like you're juggling like a kind of circus act. So please welcome to the stage, first of all, Michelle Ford. So I'm going to ask you ladies to take a seat actually on the couch. And the wonderful Dr. Claire Kaye. And also Caroline Cavanagh. Please get the words out. Right, so as we know, ladies, kind of getting to that kind of midlife can be very confusing, the whole transition, you know, trying to balance everything, especially when it comes to kids, to work, to life. But I want to come to you first of all, Michelle. So you've got a very kind of famous podcast out there, which I love, by the way. Yeah. Also, you're a radio presenter, you're a columnist, and you kind of talk about those stories that really evoke kind of that conversation. So let's have a chat with you about the empty nest kind of syndrome.
Right.
Yes. Now we've all been there. Who's had a child that's left home? Are you happy?
How'd you feel?
I think that's it. There's a lot of mixed emotions going on with it, isn't it? For a moment, you're kind of happy to have that freedom, and then it's like, oh my God, where are they? Where are they? So, and also I think when we're going through that kind of midlife and that transition of how we're feeling, we can get a bit kind of emotional. How do we deal with that?
Well, you know what? It's a bit of a perfect storm, isn't it?
Yeah.
You know, as our kids are needing us less and they're about to leave the nest, we're going through likely menopause or perimenopause at the same time. So all those hormones are hitting and we're feeling vulnerable. Our bodies are changing. We might feel a bit more invisible and we're fighting for our place or we're receding into the background. And then when your kids leave and you become less of a manager and more of a consultant, which is kind of our jobs at that point, and I think that's a fun way to look at it. It is a time for reset, but I think the dread of an empty nest is far worse than the reality, because there's very few women I've met, maybe 9 months in from the empty nest emptying, that aren't like, this is so great. This is amazing. I'm not doing the laundry all the time. I'm not running to gymnastics and football and you know, dealing with all this kid stuff. Bigger kids, bigger problems, not going to lie. So it is different, but I think I would recommend, if anything, to prepare, because the other thing about when you hit the empty nest is that you're in a house with your partner. If you're still with a partner, maybe that's the first time you've spent real time together not talking about the kids. So it's not a bad idea to think about that ahead of time. Start planning some dates, finding if you still got anything in common. Maybe you want to plan some trips away. But I've known a lot of people. Silver divorce is kind of kicking up right now. And I think it's very easy to go into that new iteration of yourself, feeling kind of feisty, embracing your effort filter, and realizing that no is a complete sentence. And sometimes people aren't ready for you. And then, of course, there's the other side of that. Your kids are going, but if you're lucky enough to still have your parents, they're aging. So you're caught, you're wedged right in that sandwich. You are the glue that holds everybody. So it can be an exhausting time when you really shouldn't feel guilty about prioritizing a bit of self-care.
I think that's the key word there, isn't it? Like the self-care. I think we've spoken before, actually, and spoken to other women that it's quite crazy, actually. Like when the kids have kind of left and, you know, you're having breakfast and you're over the table looking at your partner and then all of a sudden you're going like, do I really need you anymore? And there's like the kind of, honestly, and the rate in divorce, I couldn't believe it myself, that kind of had soared. Like literally, it's like, oh, have we been putting up with this just for the sake of kind of, you know, and that's quite kind of sad to kind of hear, but it's the reality. So one of the questions, how do we rectify that?
Well, like I say, I think planning is a big thing. Planning, if you want to stay with your spouse, you don't have to. But if you want to, it's not a bad idea to plan. Also, find your tribe. I think for women at our age, it's so important for us to find women who feel like us, who think like us, and that doesn't have to be your childhood friends, by the way. It doesn't have to be the people... I mean, Mel Robbins talks about this. If you've ever read Let Them Theory, you can't control other people, you can only control yourself. And sometimes friends are there for a reason or a season, and meeting new people at this time of life can be really... empowering and rejuvenating and energizing. I met Claire only a year ago, right?
Yeah,
she's my bestie now.
Literally everywhere she goes.
Yeah, literally. And meeting these people at this time when we're different, where we are as a teenager, a school friend, or any of those things, finding a tribe, I would say, is really important. And I know these two are the experts on confidence and anxiety, but I will say, don't allow yourself to be invisible. Look at you, you're wearing this gorgeous yellow. You're bolder, not older, as Nikki Hamilton-Jones will say later. And don't be the one always behind the camera, because when you look back in 10 or 20 years, you'll think, why wasn't I in that picture?
Yeah.
Pick a bright colour, step forward, and just...
and own
enjoy
your
it.
space.
Own it.
Right, we're going to move on. So, Dr. Claire Kaye, lovely to have you on the couch. Now, there's so many women, as we know, struggle with confidence. So, you know, you're a GP, and now that you're a career and confidence coach, tell us what the secret is. You know, when we hit that brick wall, it's like we look in the mirror and we just think, what's going on here? You know, I've had it. There's been moments when I'm thinking, like, I've got to go up on this stage, and the last thing I want to do is stand in front of everyone, like, you know, and let's get the hair and makeup done. You kind of that always helps, doesn't it? But honestly, we lack that confidence. Why is that? And what can we do to kind of regain our confidence?
Yeah, I mean, I think the first thing to say is I speak to women every single day, and what they usually say to me is that they don't know who they are and they don't know what they want. And it is a bit like Michelle was saying with the perfect storm, is everything's happening all at once. And, you know, if you think about menopause and reducing estrogen, that really affects our cognitive well-being, doesn't it? You know, brain fog, anxiety, which we'll hear about more in a moment. It affects how you feel about yourself. You know, you're still thinking, am I going to forget a word? Or what will people think of me? So we gradually shrink, and all of those things affect our confidence. And if you think about that you've got the perfect storm, you've got children leaving home, you're caring for older relatives perhaps, you may be in the workplace and thinking, oh, I haven't really got much to offer anymore, these bright young things coming in to give all this stuff. It's not surprising that women's confidence drops. And I think the thing is that most women at this point think, there's nothing I can do, I'll just shrink more. But I have to tell you, with a bit of combination from the medical side, finding your tribe and support, and then really working on your confidence, I have hundreds of women that I've worked with who are coming out the other side, embracing life, living life, whatever that looks like for them. And I'm not talking about you standing up and being like, woo, 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 all the time if that's not who you are, but just embracing who you are and feeling confident in yourself.
Do you know what? I think there's a real big thing about community as well, don't you think, ladies? In the sense of, you know, I'm going through something. Is it just me? Or when you say, I'm not feeling great, oh my God, nor am I, you know, and you share your ailments or whatever you're going through. And it's kind of that sense of familiarity amongst each other that can kind of help a little bit, as well
100%.
as,
You know, as soon as you, I mean, I'm sure lots of people in this room will have had that experience where they've thought they've got early dementia because they can't remember how to get.
Actually, let's see a raise of hands, because I certainly thought.
I'm a GP and I thought I had early dementia. So, I mean, it's so common. And then as soon as you say that to someone, when you have the confidence to say that to someone, and then somebody goes, oh yeah, me too, it feels a bit better.
Yeah.
But I think the big thing to say is confidence is a skill. And as with any skill, like reading or riding a bike, you can learn it. And there are lots of tools and tips and ideas, which I'll give you some later, which you can start using today, which are really manageable and really easy, that you can access literally from today to make a difference.
I was going to say, that was my next question, actually, or kind of thing to say. What can we share with our lovely audience here? Like, maybe give us 1 or 2 tips that, you know, that might be short-term or long-term, you know, that can help us boost that confidence, even if we just need that, like, that little pick-me-up in the morning.
Yeah, I mean, I've got so many, but I'm going to pick up. Right, okay, here we go. So,
well, you're here all day, aren't you?
Come and chat to me, I'll give you some ideas. Okay, I would say number 1 is take a risk. So that can be something really tiny, but just every day take a tiny risk. Now, I'm not talking about jumping out of a plane or bungee jumping or something, but perhaps today when you're walking around, if you see someone you think, oh, they look quite nice, they might be my sort of person, go and say hello. Take a risk. Do something that perhaps feels a little bit uncomfortable, but you'd kind of like to do. And by doing that, it starts to build your confidence a little bit. So that's one thing I would suggest. Another thing I think works really well is to think about, and I'd love you all to do this actually, maybe not this precise second, but perhaps at the end of this conversation, is just to think about one thing that your future self might be really grateful for if you were to start this week. It could be something really small. It might be reconnecting with someone. It might be doing a bit more exercise. It might be laughing a bit more. Whatever it is, just thinking about what your future self might say to you in 6 months' time, saying, come on, girl, please do this. And the last thing I think is also really useful is to have a few things in your back pocket that helps. You know, when you wake up, like, I don't know about you, but I feel it as well. You wake up and some days you're like, woohoo, and other days you're like, oh my God. And on the days when you think, I just can't do it today, have a few things in your back pocket that you can pull on. So yes, take a risk, yes, think about your future self, but maybe think, right, have a phrase that helps. So some people like things like, come on girl, you can do it. I find that a bit American for me, so I have something like, just go one step at a time, just one step at a time today. Find a phrase that makes you feel, okay, one step forwards, I can do this. And just keep repeating it to yourself, and it makes a huge difference. And these are really small things. I can give you loads more. Come and talk to me afterwards. I've got like a million more. But these are just small things you can do. But do what Michelle's saying. Find your tribe. Think about what you need. Ask yourself some what questions. And I promise you, confidence is a skill. And in which case, it means that you can learn it.
Do you know what? It's also, I think, if we look back, like, say, a few months ago or, like, 6 months ago when we were feeling really rubbish, and then we just think, why was I there? Why was I feeling that? You know, I think we've just got to sometimes spin a positive kind of spin on it. I mean, it's hard to think that sometimes, but things sometimes aren't as bad as they kind of seem. And we don't look as bad as we look, and,
exactly.
and all the rest of it, you know.
I think we have to be careful about toxic positivity, because not all of us want to, you know, wake up and go, woohoo! But I always think about it like the phrase around rain. Like, when it's raining outside, you can go, oh my God, it's raining outside. I can't go outside, it's raining, it's awful. Oh my God, the world's awful, it's raining. Or you can go, oh, well, I'm not going to melt if I go outside. It might be really refreshing. If I wear the right clothes, maybe it won't be so bad. Just that reframing is just a really simple way of looking at the things that are really getting you down and just thinking, how else might I perceive it, like you're saying, Lisa.
I don't have to order the garden tonight.
Exactly.
Well, let's move on now. So we've got lovely Caroline Cavanagh here. One thing that it's such a big topic, especially in this kind of phase of our life, and that is anxiety. Let's see a raise of hand. Who's had bouts of anxiety as they kind of, been in this kind of transition? I mean, I had it kind of last night. This morning it was gone. It's so weird how it presents itself. Why does it present itself during this kind of phase? I mean, I know that you work a lot with teenagers as well. Anxiety can be there with, like, throughout our whole life, really. Why does it pop its ugly head sometimes?
So the reality is we all have anxiety. It's a natural response. Without it, actually, we would be in real strife. And anxiety, if we think about it, is a loss of control. So if you're in full control, no anxiety. As soon as you start losing control, you start to feel more anxious. And two of the biggest fears that we have is the fear of failure and the fear of judgment. Hence, your anxiety yesterday was you don't know how people are going to be judging you, as we're all sitting here thinking exactly the same. So it's an absolute natural response. And so one of the first things that I do with people when we're starting to reduce the impact of anxiety is what can you do to take back control? And then we bring in this lovely menopause. You can't control when your body is suddenly going to go, I'm going to sweat now. Or I've just lost the whole of my language.
Yes, that happens a lot.
At all. And so this is why during the menopause the anxiety tends to really escalate, because you are losing that control and being far more exposed to the judgment and the failure. And I'm going to bring in a tip. Some of you might be thinking, Caroline brought some Lego with her. Did she get a
I was just thinking, what is that?
So this is my little tip, and if I can pick it up without falling over. Now, most of us as women spend most of our lives like this. We're at the bottom, juggling everyone else. Yeah? Some nodding heads going on? Yeah?
Yeah.
And ultimately, what it's going to do is that is really, really hard work to keep it up. I'm really hoping it's not going to fall over at the moment. It's juggling. And it's also very, very vulnerable. And so what I'm going to ask all of you to do today is to be selfish. Oh, some heads just went up and went, oh, yeah, that's a bad thing. No, it's not. We've really misconstrued the word selfish. Put that down before I do drop it. Selfish is not about eating all the donuts so no one else has any. Selfish is, as we've already been touching on, about putting yourself first. Because when you're the best version of you, everyone else gets the best version of you. So I want you to turn the pyramid back up and put yourself at the top. There's a little handout on my website that everyone's welcome to freely download. Think about what things for you top your battery up. This wonderful thing that we have in our head called our brains, and I'm a bit nervous here sitting next to a GP going into neurology. The front part of our brain is what we call the conscious mind. It's rational, it's logical, it's deductive. The rear part, which we call the subconscious, is irrational, immature, typical age of a 4-year-old. But that's the part that runs all of our emotions. So as ladies, I'm sure we've all had that dietary moment. We get up in the morning, consciously we go, I'm not going to do chocolate today. I'm going to eat a really healthy breakfast. Because we have energy. And the conscious mind requires a huge amount of energy to be able to apply that logic. However, when the battery starts to go flat, that goes offline. You're then running with a 4-year-old that goes, I know what will make you feel better.
Chocolate!
Yeah? You all with me on this? Yeah? And so the same applies. When we have a lot of energy, the rational mind can say, it's okay, I'm going to be fine. We can use the lovely mantras that help. But when that battery starts to go flat and the 4-year-old is going, it's horrendous, I've lost control, I don't know what to do, then that's when anxiety is at its worst. So managing your energy is really, really important, especially when one of the big menopause symptoms that most of us get is poor sleep. So you wake up and your battery's already only on 50% before you've even started the day. So by the time you get to post-lunch, this is offline and that bit is running amok. So I want you to start and think about what are the things that for you is going to top your battery up. I can confidently sit here and say, I am exceptionally selfish. The first 2 hours of my day, I take my dogs for a walk in the countryside because that tops me up. I do a little bit of exercise because that tops me up. I do a little bit of meditation, and those 3 things take my battery up to the highest point so that I can then be more in control for the majority of the day. And then as the battery starts to flatten out, I want you to start thinking about who are the priorities in your life. So my equivalent of the green band there, they're my kids. I am an empty nester now, they're both at university, so they don't demand too much of my energy. So that level is quite easy. The next tier down, even though he doesn't like it, is the husband. He is definitely below the kids. But most of the time, again, he's pretty self-sufficient. He doesn't require much of my battery. Then I've got some available energy to look at my work. That's going to be the biggest chunk of my energy. But I also have a disabled brother. I also have friends that demand my energy. But when you turn that pyramid upside down and all of the people are sucking on your energy, you ultimately will crumble. When you turn it back up and start prioritizing who you give your energy to, it starts to help that loss of control.
I think that's a big thing as well, isn't it? About who you give your energy to. One of the things I just want to move on to talking about is, you know, that you say, like on here, it's that anxiety is a force of positive change rather than something to fear. That's an interesting way of putting it, you know. Can you share with us like how women can begin to use this, like I suppose as a motivational kind of tool?
Absolutely, and I'm going to pick up what Claire said here. Anxiety is a natural response putting chemicals in your body called adrenaline and cortisol that put us in a higher performance state, which is exactly what you want when you're stepping outside of your comfort zone. And the more you step outside your comfort zone, the more you grow, and the result is confidence. So when you feel that little bit of, you know, tummy has just turned into a washing machine, hands are getting all clammy, rather than going, oh my goodness, you go, oh, I'm about to do something exciting. And often the feeling of excitement and the feeling of anxiety feel very, very similar in the body. But through social pressures, media, we can go on about that for a long time, we have started to naturally interpret it as anxiety. So I want you to start thinking about, am I anxious? Or am I excited? And that tiny little reframe as well is really, really powerful. I'm excited because I might be meeting someone new. I might be meeting a new best friend. I might be doing something I've never done before. Don't be anxious. Be excited, because that's stepping outside of the comfort zone. The feelings that you've got in your body are going to make your ability to perform at a better level much more accurate.
Do you know what I was going to say? It's about understanding yourself as well. As when I was saying about feeling a bit anxious and that yesterday, it was like, we got here, first time I got given the script, so I'm just like, right, and it was much bigger than that. Then the outfit, is it going to fit? Obviously, I'm menopausal, have the meno belly. Is it going to look all right? We went out for dinner last night. I'm like, oh, can I eat all of that? And I just, sod it, I need to eat. How am I going to feel in the morning? But do you know what I did? I went to bed at 9 o'clock. How old am I? But you know, it's for me. And then I got up at 5 this morning, did my meditation, and then I feel good. So it's like, I always kind of get those bouts like the night before, but then everything's always all right on the night, on the day, on the night. But it's, I think, the preparation for me and the planning, you know. But let's kind of go to all of you girls, actually. I'm going to open it up to the audience, you know, balancing the balls. You know, we've got the work, the life, and the kids. Has anyone got a question here that they find it hard? Yeah, can I just borrow that mic? That find it hard to kind of balance.
Thank you. Just wondering what advice you might have for people who've gone through kind of early menopause. So I had my chemotherapy, cancer, treatment, everything the year that my eldest son was transitioning to secondary school. And then this year, my youngest has just transitioned to secondary school. And it's just, it just feels slammed on every front. And then I'm also the breadwinner in the family as well. So I work. I've had worked all the way through the cancer and had to keep going and, you know, doing consulting and like trying to get work constantly as well. So I think it's just, there's a lot written about menopause at the empty nest stage, but not a lot about the early stage when your kids are still very high demand and you're like still, you know, the
trying
work
to navigate
is still
that,
and, all of that sort of stuff. So I wonder just what advice you have about that, the overwhelm feeling.
Fantastic. I don't know who would like to answer that.
I think that's really powerful, what you've shared with us. And I do quite a lot of work with women who've gone through breast cancer and helping them to look at creating healthy boundaries, looking at confidence, how they go back to work. And what you're describing is really common, whether it's early or later. And the overwhelm is real. And I think the big thing that I would say is that you can do everything, but just not all at the same time. And that's true with all of us, whatever stage you've gone through. So I think it's about looking at what the priorities are and where you need to spread yourself and the things that matter. So I do a lot in self-coaching and empowering women to do what I do, but do for themselves. And often the questions are just beginning with the word what. So what is it that I need? What is it that I need to fill my cup up so that I've got enough to give to everyone else? What are my priorities? What or who might I need to help me? What is it that I'm doing that perhaps I don't need to be doing today or ever? Who can I delegate to? What is going to happen if I make no changes? What would my best friend, who I really respect and trust, tell me to do right now? All those what questions. And what I would suggest that you do is ask yourself a what question and write the answer down. and take yourself through like a little process, and at the end say, okay, what might my options be here? And what would be the easiest, simplest first step that I could make? So it might be something really simple as saying, in your situation that you've kindly shared with us, you know, I need some help. And it might be, well, who might I be sharing that thought with? Is it to get support or is it practical help? But those self-coaching, simple what questions are really important. And I think remembering that you can do it all, just not all at the same time.
And I would come back to here, you know, what are your priorities? So when, you know, I'm the other side of the menopause girls, you can get there, it will be good.
There's light at the end of the tunnel.
There is light at the end of the tunnel. I have a disabled brother. He's further down on my pyramid, and there were many times that I wasn't able to do what I would like to have done for him, but I knew that if I gave my energy to him, the top tier would start to crumble. So energy is a limited resource.
I was going to say, sorry
spending it well.
to interrupt there, but you know, like, I suppose, is it necessary to prioritise, or can you just share it kind of equally, or it doesn't work like that?
That's a choice.
Right,
Yeah,
okay.
That's absolutely a choice. For me, it was a very clear, right, kids, husband, work, brother, my parents when they were still alive, friends. And sometimes I got back to the bottom, other times I didn't. And it's accepting you can't do everything all of the time.
Yeah.
And there may be other days where you get a little bit, you get a little bit, you get a little bit. But it's making sure that you don't drain the battery so much, because that's when really poor health does start to creep in.
Yeah.
Yeah, all I would add is that we all know that menopause and perimenopause is a time of incredible, overwhelming emotions, responsibilities, changing lifestyles, all sorts of things. And we're all saying the same thing. Yeah. It's all about self-care and never being afraid to ask for support. I know so many women of our age who are caring for their parents and are utterly exhausted. But there's such guilt in finding time for yourself. But, you know, it's the old thing, isn't it? If you don't have the oxygen, you can't help anybody else. So, I mean, I think we're all on the self-care bandwagon, and asking for help is a really good thing.
I think as a mum, when you've got young kids, it's really difficult to kind of prioritise yourself, isn't it? You just kind of run around until you're ragged. I remember, like, my daughter's 21 now, but, like, when she was younger, it was like, I just look in the mirror sometimes, I feel like I'm doing everything for her. I feel run down, but you just do it. You kind of go into overdrive, but you do need that moment, don't you? I think we've got a couple of minutes left. So has anyone else got a question they'd like to ask? No? We're all balancing it perfectly then, are we, ladies? Well, I'm going to come and ask you for tips in a bit. Well, listen, thank you so much. Thank you for you know, sitting here in our audience. We've got lots more, so stay with us. So big thank you to Michelle Ford.
Thank you. Enjoy your day.
Dr. Claire Kaye.
Lovely to see you all.
And, of course, Cavanagh.
Thank you, ladies. And if anyone would like that download, it's carolinecavanagh.co.uk. Help yourself.
Fantastic. They're going to be milling around today, so you can kind of come and find them as
Come
well.
say hello.
But do stay with us, because we've got our next panel straight up now.